Okay, so if we could just go around and have everyone introduce themselves and tell us what you do in the band.
You start now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Katie. I play guitar and sing, if you can call it singing, in Pupil Slicer.
I'm Josh and I play the drums. Not as
Awesome. So why don't you tell us how Pupil Slice, how your band formed, how you guys got together?
That old chestnut. Me and Josh were in a post-black metal band beforehand, and me and the bassist of that band came up with grindy riffs that didn't really fit it, and we wrote a song as like over a weekend, a grindcore song that was like carcassy, and then we were thinking up funny band names and came up with Pupil Slicer, and we were like, that's so stupid, we can't not use it for something. So then we were like, well, we need a drummer for this. We can't just have MIDI drums if we want to like play any shows or do anything. So we got Josh on drums again, and then we sort of wrote that whole EP really quickly, and it was sort of all like a side project jokey thing. And then the other guy left after that, and it sort of left me and Josh with this project, and we were getting gigs off it. I think probably just because we had a funny name. And we were like, we can do anything we want. So we were like, well, what do we like? We like Rolo Tomasi, we like Dillinger Escape Plan, we like Death Heaven. Let's just like write whatever we want and play gigs and have a good time. And that's basically what we've been doing since. We were like, for writing new stuff, we did try and put a bit more effort in. So like the album, everything before this album sort of been like leftovers from when we were just sort of joking about, and then we were like, actually, we've been working on these songs for years since then, and playing them live for years. Just taken a while to assemble it all into an album and get it done. So it's sort of like, this is a new chapter now. The album's coming because it's like actually like, we didn't pay effort into the old stuff, but this is what we want Pupil Slicer to sound like. This is what we will be going forwards.
Yeah, so obviously you guys, you have kind of a chaotic sound, but chaos reads to me more like complexity. So how do you approach writing something that has this many twists and turns and is overall this chaotic?
Do you want to take this one, Josh?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think it sort of comes from the fact that we wrote the album in lots of different ways. We had loads of different influences and lots of different methods for writing stuff. I guess the album sort of did eventually piece together into something sort of coherent, but we didn't approach the album like how the EP got wrote, just rushed and just done really quickly. So yeah, there's lots of different methods. Like some of it was just Kate sort of just put everything together. Some we jammed and then sort of pieced together songs afterwards. And then some came from like little drum ideas. So there wasn't really a clear sort of one track way of writing everything. But I think we sort of did have a little bit of, coherence in it at the end when we sort of recorded it and it sort of came out with this certain sound. But yeah, there's lots of different ways, in short.
I think assembling the songs themselves was like, there was no one process, but it was like, once we had everything, we were getting towards the end of it, I was then like, right, what can we add in to like make the album flow better, get interludes going, get a better flow to the album as a whole, because I like it when you can listen to an album front to back and like every song you're like, listening to the end of one song, you're like, I want to hear the start of the next one because it flows well like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent quite a lot of time making sure that worked. And there's lots of little things in there, like musical, like motifs. There's a lot of rhythmic motifs that appear in like 5 songs on the album, just to sort of give it that coherency, even if they're like quite different styles of songs. Like you've got your more D-beat, super hardcore songs, and then ones that are more mathcore, and then even like post-metal and black gaze at the end of the album. But they're just little motifs in there to sort of tie everything together.
Yeah. Something me and Chris both agree on is your sound of your music sounds familiar. You know, we think of bands like Dillinger Escape Plan, Vane, those come to mind. But you guys definitely carved out some unique items in your music that made it stand out and didn't just sound like a copy of those. Those sounded like influences, which is what you want. So my question is, did you guys, now you already kind of touched on this, did you guys set out at the beginning to make this kind of crazy mathcore, grindcore, power violence sound? Or is it just, that's your favorite kind of music, those are influences, this is the music you just want to make, and that's what happened?
Yeah,
Yeah, go on.
All right. We love all those bands, and it's mainly the energy of them we wanted to capture. A lot of the writing on the album did start with like, I'd hear a song by a band, I would just be like really into an album at a time, and then be like, I want to write something that captures that, like makes me feel like that's sick, that I want to recreate that, not in a way that's like ripping it off, but like one, paying tribute to the fact that I love these bands and want that influence in there, and two, like try and make something new out of it and assemble it with those of other things. I think there's a lot of individual chunks which are paying homage to other bands that we're really into, but there's so many of them chucked into one song that you wouldn't be able to like pick a song and be like, this whole song sounds like this other band. We've tried to make it unique in being a melting pot of all these influences, and then also just being us having fun writing stuff we want to, and sounds cool.
I think like one of the things I remember us saying though is, because we sort of met when we was in this post black metal band, although like we really love all them sort of bands and they are a little bit of an influence on us, I think the Dillinger and Converge sort of influences and bands like that came from, we wanted to play stuff that people could go really mental to live. So I think a lot of us wanting to play that was also like, you know, some songs we wanted for like the live reaction, which is a shame because we're not actually really able to like do that at the moment, but we have been playing a lot of the songs off the album for quite a while, and they do get people going crazy every now and again. So that was also a factor as well. Like I was pretty bored of playing like 10-minute blast beat songs and like double kick standard songs, so I think that was a factor as well, just, you know, because it's more fun.
Yeah. Do the two of you have any live performance experience like prior to the pandemic? I assume so, but I figured I'd ask.
Yeah, we've been playing loads of gigs. You can go on this one, Josh, if you want.
Yeah, we sort of really, you know, established ourselves in a live sense. We were playing pretty much every gig we got offered. There was like a stage where it was just me and Kate in the band, and we'd get like offers from people on Facebook like, this band's dropped out, do you want to come play? And we'd literally like get a skateboard and get on the bus and then a train and then another bus and end up playing the show. I think like one
the
year
skateboard was for carrying an amp, by the way.
yeah. I wasn't like just like that skateboard to the gig, it was like for practical reasons, but we're not that cool. But yeah, there was a stage where we were just doing every single show we got offered, and we had
like 8 shows in London in 1 month once. That was the most ridiculous, like constantly touring London is our
yeah, we really enjoyed it, and I think it did really benefit us as musicians, because when Luke, our bassist, joined, you know, we were still doing quite a lot of input, the London tour, as we say, just continuously playing London and these little gigs at last minute. But I think it played dividends because it got us a lot tighter, and feel like when we do sort of get back to gigging, hopefully with a little bit more of an audience, because we have like our actual sound on record now for people to check out, we'll hopefully smash it even more, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So building on that question, what is the local metal or grind scene like where you guys are located?
I think...
Do you want to go on this?
Nah, go on.
Okay. There's a pretty like fun little scene. We're not super in like, we don't know. It seems less like it's a local London scene and more like just a UK scene. Because those are the bands we know that we're like great friends with aren't from like just London. They're all over the place, but there definitely are London bands, and it seems like pretty vibrant. Like everyone knows everyone in like the bands in the UK. It seems there's a network of people. There's like Death Goals were another mathcore band that we just somehow ended up. We were on like a random bill, one of those things where it was like us and then like a alt rock band, and then like I was like, that was our first gig ever. And one of the other bands just happened to be another mathcore band. And we were like, this is sick. And then we did a split with them, and then we've met loads of other bands online and through just playing gigs, arranging stuff. Like we've arranged a few gigs. We've done little tour weekender things with other UK bands. And there seems to be a pretty healthy scene in the UK. It's just like, as far as we can see, there's not a huge like scene of bands like in London or something. Like, yeah, there's not a huge amount we know.
It's just because it's such a small country in some ways, isn't it? Like a lot of them are from, you know, like Hertfordshire and like up north. There's so many bands from the Midlands and stuff, and it seems like there's a big old sort of mix of different bands. But yeah, there isn't like, I think London actually specifically is quite a difficult one, because London is a massive city, and there isn't like one, like you could play London and then play London another night like 20 miles away, because it's just such a massive like place. So there isn't, it's a bit harder for there to be like a proper scene really. But again, what Kate was saying, it seems like, you know, most metal bands sort of know each other, and at gigs and stuff you recognize a lot of the same people, the same sort of, I think it's more of like a grindy hardcore scene, I guess you could sort of put it in.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that might be that we're more of a grindy hardcore band than a metal band. We're not like playing a huge amount of shows with like death metal and black metal bands and getting loads of people turning up with like leather jackets looking really angry. We sort of get like all the hardcore kids in baseball caps and like cargo shorts doing like karate in the pits. Those are like the sort of people we end up playing gigs to. But that's cool, because that's the energy we're going for. Like the bands we're drawing our influence from are like the bands that are jumping off everything, and like Converge and Dillinger, Vane, those sorts of bands. A lot more than like Dying Fetus, where you just stand there looking really angry playing technical riffs.
True. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So we know that your band has some sort of PR team with Prosthetic Records. Do you mind telling us about the people you work with outside of the band members and how they help you with your band? Do they help with marketing? What is your relationship with them like?
Yeah, we've got a really, really fantastic relationship with our label. It sort of was a bit of a wild one how we got signed by them. Like I think we like sent out a few emails when we finished, because we sort of finished the album, it was complete. It was like we should try and maybe get it on a label and see if we can get any support from like a label. And we tried a few, and then Kate randomly said like Prosthetic, which, you know, obviously pretty massive independent label in the US, and like some of the bands I used to grow up listening to. I think like my first ever gig was like Lamb of God, so it was like quite a cool label to think we'd actually end up on. But yeah, we like emailed them and sort of sent them sort of a few tracks and a little bit about us and what we'd sort of been playing and all that sort of thing, and they got back to us like on the day, and then by the end of the week we'd signed with them. So it's really cool. And they're sort of PR ladies called Becky, and she is actually based in the UK, and she's like absolutely amazing. She's helped us out so much, and yeah, we were sort of really lucky to be in a team sort of helping us grow, because we have sort of seen ourselves grow massively as a band. And it's also just cool that we're going to get our, you know, our record out there, and it's got all these pre-orders, and it's going to be in people's collections. I still sort of pinch myself a little bit, because something I've always really wanted to happen, and it's sort of come to fruition at this really weird time in history, but it's still really cool.
Yeah, they're really nice. Will works as well. He's recently started, and he used to be at Holy Raw Records, and now he's helping with PR and sort of, you know, Will and Becky are both fantastic. And then like Steve Steve's the main guy who handles us, and he was like the guy who first got our email and was like, "We should sign these guys."
It's like the
And
talent
then-
sort of guy.
Yeah, he's the US. He's the talent scout. They're really nice. It's a really small like thing. It's like 4-5 people. So
Yeah, so before we get too far away from it, I did want to circle back to the music on this new EP for a second. And I wanted to ask you guys about your approach to writing lyrics, specifically whether or not it's significant to you that the lyrics have some profundity to them, or if they're just subordinate to the music itself. Just give me your thoughts on approaching lyrics on this new EP.
yeah, it was sort of previously it was very much just write funny things and make them fit the songs. And on this LP, I definitely wanted. This was like the first time I was writing the lyrics because they were written by the old bassist previously, and I did put a lot of work into them and try and write about things that are personal and just pour a lot of emotion out into it, whilst also like leaving everything vague enough that people can draw their own conclusions. Because there was a time where I was like, I've written these too personal. I don't want anyone to read these. And I was like, I'll just make them a bit more vague, and then they can just sound cool if you read them. You can draw your own conclusions, find some. I think so. It's one of my favorite things about music is you can read the lyrics of a song and hear the performance, and you can draw your own conclusions of like what this song's about and be like, oh, this is really meaningful to me. But that could be like nothing like what the band originally intended the lyrics to be about. So I think I wrote it from that approach of like people can find their own meaning in there, and hope you have some meaning. Yeah, it looks like Luke's turned up.
Yep.
Yeah. Hi.
Luke,
We have no
Can you hear
video
us?
for you, Luke. You cannot hear us.
Yo,
Oh, there he
go.
is.
hell yeah.
Nice.
Luke.
Hey, sorry guys, I got a bit mixed up. Have we been on lock?
Gotcha.
Oh, no, you're totally fine, man. We're sorry that we didn't show up at the right time. We screwed up the time zone difference, and that
Yeah.
it was a mess.
Luke, why don't you introduce yourself?
I
And
am
what
Bass
you do with
Slicer.
the band?
I am Bass Slicer in Pupil Slicer. I do a bit of backing vocals. I try to get the band to listen to more metal if possible. Yeah,
He's
and,
the metal member of the band.
yeah, and there's much like street, really nasty hardcore that I can. Yeah, that's my introduction. Sorry.
Well, I'll ask you a question about that then. You know, we've been talking to the other members of the band and influence Dillinger and Vane and all these mathcore bands come up. So
Yeah.
what are some of your influences that you're bringing into Pupil Slicer?
Vane are great, right? But yeah, I like I guess my vocals I try and just shout like a UK oi band or something. But in terms of like my playing, I just try and I guess bring bass to the front a little bit more. Well, not to the front, but just try and push myself as a bass player. So I'm kind of typical in that I really like Les Claypool and, you know, Geddy Lee and Flea and all those guys. So yeah, I'll try and bring a bit of that to the band. Yeah. That's my
All right.
Awesome.
Ryan Martinez from Mudvayne, Sean Malone from Cynic, all these great, awesome bass players. Hopefully, at the next album, I can get a bit of fretless bass on there, but that might be.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was your involvement with the writing process during the CP? The other band members already kind of touched on the overall writing process.
Well, it's just kind of bringing in some slap bass really, and seeing how many bass chords I could play. And
See how
where
many
I-
slaps you could get away with. Like it was
See
a
how many
lot of-
slaps will make it past the master editor. So I've been throwing some ideas and stuff for our next album. So hopefully I can get some cool bass riffs on there. Yeah, But I guess with in terms of the writing, as the guy said, we kind of want to jam a bit more because a lot of that kind of came from, you know, Josh just making random demos and Kate just making up stuff. But yeah, we've been writing some tabs for the new stuff. I changed a bit of those to make it sound more like a Slayer or a Mastodon riff. So that was a nice little victory that I managed to sneak in there.
That's awesome. Now, this is a question for every band member. I would like to hear a little bit about your personal experience learning to play your instrument, or learning to scream for Kate or for you. Kind of tell us just a little bit about how long you've been playing and how you got into playing this kind of music.
Good question. You want to go, Kate? You go.
All right. Learning vocals, I can't do them. The first time I did them was like, we were opening for Frontiera and our vocalist dropped out like 2 days before. And I was like, oh shit, we haven't got a vocalist. So I just sat in my room and practiced the songs over and over, trying to learn how to sing them in time. And then I just sort of guessed how to do vocals, and I've been guessing ever since. The recording process was hell because I was blowing my voice out every day, and I could only record like 2 songs, 1 song at a time. So it took like 2 months to record all the vocals for the album. So I'm going to get some lessons before we tour or anything next, because I don't want to lose my voice. Guitar-wise, I played violin when I was really young, up until I was like 18, and then I got a guitar when I was like 18 or 19. So I was like, how old am I? It's like 5 or 6 years ago. And then the first thing I wanted to learn was like Deaf Heaven songs. So and then I put an ad up online saying, I want to play in a band that sounds like Deaf Heaven. I'm not very good at guitar, but please. And that was Josh's old band, and I joined that, and I think joining that and having to learn their songs made my chops improve massively. And then like it was just writing early Pupil Slicer stuff when it was like more grindy, that like I kept pushing, like will write things I couldn't play. Like this album I couldn't play it until I tracked it. I just sat, because I tracked it from home DI. The album was just like I sat there with a riff for like 2 hours until I got a good take of it and like had learned it. So it's very much just writing stuff I can't play and then hoping I can learn it. That's how I learn guitar.
Nice. Yeah, awesome.
You want to go, Josh? I'll go.
Go on then.
So I've probably...
I said after you.
Sorry. My dog was barking. Apologies if that comes through on the audio. It should be okay now. So I've played for about 15 years, for a long time, because I'm a bit older than the rest of the guys. But yeah, so I was kind of self-taught. I had like this really old school VHS that I got with my first kind of 3/4 length scale bass. That was like how to play the bass guitar. And I used that to learn. Plus just watching Steve Harris and Flea videos that I had. I did have some lessons when I played for about 6 or 7 years. That my music teacher in my 6th form managed to get me, which was with this like jazz professor. And that was really intense because he made me learn all this theory and how to play walking bass and just like improvisation with all these mad chords. So that like really pushed me as a bass player. And then I've played in kind of gent bands, death metal, more like, I guess, melodic hardcore. So I guess I played in an instrumental band. I play in another band at the moment called Infected Dead, who are a tech death band. That stuff's insanely hard. But in a different way to Pupil Slicer. The Pupil Slicer is more with this hand with the rhythms, and the death metal is more like this hand with the business.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got a bit of that too though in Slicer. But yeah, I've just played with lots of different bands. Like jamming with drummers is really important, I think, as a bass player. And yeah, just self-taught, practice a lot, try and be disciplined, learn as much Russian Dream Theater as I can.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, though, the Pupil Slicer material is seriously challenging. And actually, I'll be honest, because with us, like many bands, have been kind of non-operational in a sense for a while. I was trying to play a couple of songs off the album literally last night, and I thought, damn, I really need to sit down with the metronome for a while and learn these again. But it's a good opportunity. It's a good opportunity though, because when you play a song for such a long time, I don't know if the guys agree, but you pick up like these bad habits when you're playing, that you're just playing it, and that's kind of how it is. And you play and you go, I know that note. Yeah. That's not played properly, but that's how we've been playing it. So I'm kind of taking the opportunity to learn everything from scratch and learn it again, so it's as clean and as crisp as it can be for when we do some live sessions that we've got coming up. So hopefully I'll be playing them better than I ever have before.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How about you, Josh?
So I probably started playing drums when I was like 10-ish. My dad had like an old drum kit in the loft, and I just started hammering away at that. I used to like play along to like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and The Who, some of my like dad's favourite bands. And then when I was like in year 7 at school, which is like the first year of high school to you guys, I started having lessons up until I was about 15 or 16. My old drummer was my old drum teacher was quite cool. He sort of helped me a lot. I think he knew I was into metal, so sometimes he let me like play along to bits in between like our lesson. But I think he's Adam Ant's drummer. That's quite a cool anecdote for any people who like 80s cool 80s music. But yeah, I think metal wise, I started playing double kick drums when I was maybe like 14 or 15, so just coming on the back end of when I was having lessons. I sort of learnt by playing along to like Lamb of God and Metallica, a little bit of Machine Head, them sort of bands. That was like my introduction to like that sort of thing. Then I joined like a deathcore band, and was sort of in and out playing gigs with them for 2 or 3 years and sort of homing my craft a bit. But yeah, I think I've been playing drums longer than I haven't now, if that makes sense. Like I've been playing them for most of my life. So yeah, it's cool.
So I think that everything you guys just told us would be useful information and useful anecdotes to other young bands. Something else that I thought might be interesting to ask you for those young bands who might watch this is, prior to getting signed to Prosthetic, what was your approach to marketing yourselves? You know, did you have some deliberate approach to spreading the word online, or was there approach to marketing yourselves in your local scene? How did you guys go about attempting to gain some ground prior to Prosthetic?
I mean, honestly, we didn't gain much ground at any point.
That is not true. That is not true.
I disagree with that.
We were, but it was just like, it was just playing loads and loads of live shows, getting on every gig you can, and being like getting good at playing your songs. Like the best thing that gets people into music. Since we didn't have an operator to record it, and we just record like older songs here and there. But I think it was just playing the material, being like super tight together. Always have like a bit of merch, like a couple shirts, even if it's just like one design. We started off with just like the logo on a black shirt. It just means like someone really enjoys it, they'll buy that, and then they'll remember you more than if they just saw you and there was nothing there. So if you just have something there for people to get, and yeah, just get on as many shows as you can, like message like shows that are happening locally and say, is there any room for us to open?
Or
try and make friends with the bands.
Or even go to a show and ask the promoter. Go and talk to the promoter. Talk to someone at a show.
A lot of the things we got on were just like, I'd go to see bands play in London and then go and like want to chat to the bands after, and then I'd be like, next time you come, could like, will you play? I'll add you on like Facebook, and then message them after and be like, so you just be a nuisance to everyone in the scene, and you force your way into it.
I would say Kate's point about merch is a valid one, because it's probably the only way that you're going to make any money tangibly in like a short-term game. Because
Yeah.
I mean, you might get like 40 quid off the promoter. But I would say, I mean, just on a more like philosophical note on that, right? I guess the more modern approach for bands is that they're going towards, for promotional purposes, put out 5 singles and like have a video for that, because you get more streams than that. But I mean, to be honest, for my advice for any band just starting would be all to practice.
Practice.
Practice loads, and then if you're good, when you come together and you find people that you can jam with, you'll be like even better. But I just that whole, I get the promotional side of doing that, but I think if you can just go and play shows, and get out there and establish yourself in the community, I guess, as well as an individual, as not just a band, which is like good for yourself and for the scene as well, like not just blasting singles. But that being said, obviously, the analytics speak, and with the label behind us, we've got better numbers now. So
Yeah. Our numbers got bigger. It took us like 3 years to get to like 700 likes on Facebook, and then it jumped to like 2,200. And the Spotify listeners went from 30 to 2,500. But that was like putting out material we've been working on for ages. And I think, yeah, it was just the live shows. It's like, because we're not in this to get famous.
It is the foundation, though. Like, you have to have that foundation. I think, like, Prosthetic said this to us, but it might apply to other labels. I'm sure they were saying, like, you know, we like our bands to be getting out there and playing lots of live shows, building up that core fan base of you know, people who are going to follow you, and then all the way sort of thing. Like, it's good to like be playing big shows and stuff, but you've got to have that sort of core fan base. So I think the only way to do that is, you know, get yourself out there at shows, you know, just don't be a dick, you know, just be nice to everyone and be respectful. And I think it does help you out in the long run.
I think a lot of the bands that set out to like market themselves often just suck, because they're just like a bad metalcore band that's got a lot of money to spend, and instead of actually working on some decent material and becoming a band, it's like, to round off on the point, it's like, we'll put out 5 singles that are like hyper produced, and with like loads of money on videos, loads of sponsored posts, and you think, like, in realistic terms, that whole package to do that for a single could cost what, like, with the recording, easily like $5,000, right? $5,000 to $10,000. You'd do that pretty easily to do it at a scale. Is that song worth $5,000?
Oh,
I think this honestly, like,
yeah.
I'm not trying to persuade anyone in particular. It's just true.
Our first EP cost like £300 total to all the production on it. That was it.
We spent more on those like custom embroidered
the shirt design.
polos that you had.
We got those, like, yeah, we had like merch made for us as a joke. Like, we bought like workwear sweaters that just said Pupil Slicer, like, to look like, yeah, funny joke tops, and they probably cost more than we spent on making music. But I think just don't be in it for getting big. Don't be in it, like, cool, it's cool if people hear your music, but play the music because you want to play the music and you enjoy playing the music and you want people to have a good time listening to the music. That's why we play the music we do. We love these bands. We love going ham in pits and having a great time, and we want people to hear our music and have a great time in the same way.
Yeah.
Well said, Kate.
Yeah. So now that you're with Prosthetics, though, do they handle like all your social media? Did they handle the organization of? I believe you released a music video for one of your singles for the album, or it might have been on the last EP. I'm not sure, but did they organize the music video? They hire the people who are going to do it. Like,
we do everything ourselves still. We like do all the social media. Me and Josh. They give us like advice. They'll like help make a thing. We're like, can you make a graphic to say it's like Bandcamp Friday and promote stuff, but like
What marketing collateral they help
yeah,
with.
all of the like visual design and stuff was like us. I did like the LP packaging, and we got our friends to do a collage for the front of it, and I assembled it all together. Same with all our like social media stuff, and then with the music videos, those were also like we reached out to these people. The label liked like the first music video we did. I think the label gave us, we had an advance for the album, so we used half of that, and then we used like half of our own money to pay for it. And then the second one, the label was like, we gave you an advance already, so we paid for that all ourselves. But it was
Got to
worth
be
it in the
recouped
end.
eventually, but
It'll be recouped.
yeah, I get the logic.
We put so much money into the band, like not so much. Like on the grand scheme of things, it was like we put maybe like £2,000 each into it over like 5 years. So it's like it's just a hobby. You'd spend that on any hobby. The dream is to reach the point where we'll break even and like not be spending money on the band, and the band will pay for itself.
I think we're kind of getting there.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Certainly, like we nearly sold out the merch.
Yeah, we nearly sold. We got like 4 shirts left.
Nearly sold out the merch. What a sentence.
But yeah, like we probably could have like gone down the route of doing a cheaper video and all that stuff, but I think as a band we sort of have this ethos where we like to do everything properly and to like a standard that at the end of it there's something we're really proud of and is true to the music or captures the energy of the song, or you know, that sort of side of it. So I think like as a band we don't really like to sort of cut corners on things, so I think that's sort of an element of it as well.
This is like our main hobby together, doing this music. So we want, you want the product to be something you're really happy with. Like, sure, we didn't spend like £50,000 going to like the biggest studio in the country and stuff. But we kept it cheap where we could. Like I recorded my guitar at home. Luke recorded his bass at home for the album, but then we got it mixed properly at a studio we respected. We got it mastered at a studio respected, and like, you know, ensuring where we can, we're getting the best possible result. So, you know, we put the effort into writing the songs. If we don't want to, you can only record those songs and release them once. It'd be weird to go back and re-record everything. So you want it, you know, that's the main event, is the music. Like, you can cut corners at your live show and not use enough pedals and just like plug straight into an amp, because that will carry itself if it sounds good in the venue. But on the album, you need to put the effort.
So generally speaking, what is the most challenging thing you guys have experienced as a band up to this point?
Learning the songs.
Pandemic, probably, but
yeah.
Aside from that, I'm just trying to think.
Recording them was a challenging recording session. For sure.
Because of me.
Well, I mean, a couple of things really. Like the material was one. The second one was that we were having like a heat wave in the UK, and my house, the windows aren't great, so it's hot in the summer, freezing in the winter, and it's south facing, so the sun shines in, and it was absolutely boiling, with Kate breathing down my neck, saying, "That's a quaver out." Yeah. So the conditions, the material, and the stewardship of the music from Kate made it all the more challenging. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So what has been the most meaningful, happy, awesome moment each of you have experienced in this band?
Been a lot recently. Like one that came to mind is we were played on like BBC Radio 1.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And that was quite a cool moment, because like for
It's
anyone
like
in the US,
famous.
yeah, anyone in the US that doesn't know that, I guess that's like CBS Radio or something like that. I don't know. It's like our main sort of channel, radio channel.
It's like he's like Eddie Trunk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really cool. It's been such like a hard year for everyone, and it was like quite a cool sort of moment that, you know, made my like family, who obviously don't really understand metal in the same way I do, you know, it even sort of put a smile on their face. So just to have that in this like really rubbish time everyone's going through was like such a cool moment. Because I remember like me and Kate, when we first started jamming that song out in like my shed in my garden, I was like, man, now it's on like national radio. It's like quite a cool achievement.
Yeah.
It went too far with it. It's gone too far, the music. But no, it's really cool.
For me, it's like two things. One, the first time I jammed with the guys, so it was just like played the song perfectly, and it's like, yeah. And then kind of to finish the circle is like when we got the test pressings for the album. Just kind of looking at it, going, damn, that's a record that my bass is on. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Kate?
Yeah, probably the same things. Radio 1, getting the test pressing it. I think the coolest thing for me is like putting all this time into writing the music, and like, because we have been only playing live, there's no like lasting thing of seeing like people like the music. It's like they like it there and then they're like, cool, whatever. But now like having the songs from the album out and the music videos, seeing people like get it and be like, oh, this is sick, it reminds me of Botch, it reminds me of Dillinger Escape Plan. I'm like, why are you comparing us to these fantastic bands? I don't get it. It's I'm very happy to be compared to them, but like it's easy, it's hard to see like your own work. And then because to me the songs sound, I wrote like most of the parts in the songs and I'm like, these sound really simplistic and like badly written to myself. They're cool, but like I wouldn't compare them to any of those bands I really love. And then people are like, yeah, this is like one of my albums of the year already, and I'm like, what? Very cool.
On a more humble note, there was one very touching moment at a show where we opened up a death metal all-dayer, which Prostitute Disfigurement were headlining. So we're talking pretty serious death metal here. And we were kind of, we stuck out a little bit, to be honest. And we was opening the show and there was like a smattering of people watching us kind of suspiciously, because we don't really like a death metal band. And there was this one guy who had, he was massive, really tall, and he had like those big gauntlets on with the spikes, like proper black metal guy, with like big combat boots on, just standing at the front like I looked like he was going to attack us, but then by the end, he was like properly headbanging and windmilling, and I was like, we got the guy. We got the guy to like us. He fucking loves it. So that was one particularly proud moment.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think the first time we had a mosh pit as well, that was sick.
Yeah.
Just like looking down and being like, those people are like killing each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, we've reached the point in the interview where if there's anything we haven't touched on that you want to bring up, anything that you want to plug, or anything that you want to ask us, the floor is yours.
I think we got to plug, I don't know when this is going out, but like it's Friday the 5th today. Our album is out in exactly a week.
This should be out that day.
Damn. So yeah, the album's out today. Check it out. Pupilslicer.bandcamp.com, pupilslicer.bigcartel.com. We got vinyl, we got CDs. We might have tapes left. There's like 8 left today. So hopefully there's some left then.
We'll put all your links to everything in the description as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Sick. Yeah. We got music. See if you like it. That's the main thing to plug, I guess. Album's out. Oh, this evening we've got a radio show. We're hosting at 8 p.m. GMT, 2 Pacific time, 3. I don't know. I'm sure it's on our Facebook page if you check that. Yeah, we're doing like a live show thing for the album release day in the evening. So
Give me metal.
Gimme metal is what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh, Luke, you guys got anything?
Shouts out to Architects, metal band, just got UK #1 in the UK.
Yeah.
If they're listening, I'm joking. But yeah, really, I thought that deserves a mention tonight because I think that's pretty damn cool. Because I remember seeing Architects when I was like 15, and now they've got like a UK #1. So shouts out to UK metal taking over.
Yeah.
And also Bring Me, BMT
Yeah.
Hats, they got a #1 this year too. So, you know, I mean, while she sleeps, I don't know they'll get a #1, but they'll probably chart in the top 10. So, you know, that's like the big achievement. I've got a question for you, which is, you might have sort of said already, but have you had a chance to listen to the album? Have we given it to you, and what did you take from it?
Do you want to go first, Scott?
Yeah, I'll start first. Yeah, me and Chris, we got they sent us the album before it's out, so we got to listen to the whole thing. And yeah, I can't remember if you were in the interview when we were talking about this earlier, but I was saying bands that immediately come to mind when I heard it was Dillinger and like Vane, two bands that I really, really love. And but I didn't think your band was at all a copy of them. I said, okay, I hear this influence. It sounds similar just with the chaotic energy and all of that. But there were so many elements added that made me just go, oh shit, what are they doing? There were some real groovy parts because, you know, it'd go from absolute chaos into something that's like groovy and I can headbang to. So it added just some awesome elements to a type of metal that I already really enjoy. So that being said, I love it.
Okay, yeah. We'll put more insanely heavy beatdowns on the next album for you.
Yeah, I had a similar listening experience. I think that you guys are, you know, Connor said this earlier in the interview. I think that there's something both very familiar and very distinct about this record. And there are certain points, and this might actually be sacrilege for some folks. There's certain points where I think you guys actually pulled the disparate, chaotic elements together better than Dillinger did back in the day.
You're gonna live off that forever now.
Dude, I flew to New York to see Dillinger play their last like 3 shows. That was like my favorite memory ever. So like,
wow.
Yeah.
I went fishing and we caught a big one.
Yeah.
So yeah, the record is really good, and anybody who's watching this should definitely go pick it up because it's a great record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Out today.
Thanks so much for your feedback. It's really appreciated.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, that's actually why we're talking today, because me and Chris, we like to find local bands that people are talking about and that have potential that we think have a lot of potential, and that's how we found you guys. I think some people were actually writing an article about your band. That's how I found it.
Who should we check out from your ends?
What's that?
Who should we check out from where's local to you?
So this isn't exactly local because these bands are in New Jersey and we're from Nashville. But we've talked about we've talked to so many folks in New Jersey that has effectively become our scene by proxy. A couple of the really good ones we've talked to, I think my favorite is Kong.
Yeah.
Alex Perugine is from that band. He runs a YouTube channel very similar to ours, and their music is fantastic.
Yeah. 10,000 Crows from Australia.
And 10,000 Crows from Australia. They're doing sort of like a Justice for the Damned, like symphonic deathcore thing that's pretty well executed. And what's one more we can suggest just to round it out?
Gosh, I'm thinking. There's been a lot. Roju.
Yeah, Roju. They're a Finnish band.
Finnish, new metal genty type of thing.
Yeah. So there you go. There's 3 bands we can recommend to you.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any of them, so I'll definitely give them a check out. That's a good thing about metal. There's just so many awesome bands around the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
True.
Well, guys, if you don't have anything else to add, it's been excellent talking to you, and I encourage everybody watching to go pick up your record.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Sorry I was late.
Great.
Yeah.
Better late than never.
Late than never. It's a bass player.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Great talking to you.
Thank you.
Nice one.
Bye.